West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Donald Trump, Bill, giving the people what they really want. Because you remember when he sent National Guard troops to just quote-unquote blue states? What about all the crime in the red states? What about all those? What about Memphis, Tennessee? Well, because he listens to the voice of the people, Trump signing off on sending the National Guard to Memphis.
Oh, goody.
I love him. He's so fun. All right. We will get to this next hour, and we want to hear from you. And now it's time for news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good Tuesday morning, 64, partly sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 77 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning. To learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment, call 303-777-1234. Our top story.
This past year found that there have been over 400 instances of hostility against churches in the United States in the year 2024. Those included arsons, bomb threats, shootings, and firearm incidents. Another organizational report found that there were 500 attacks on Catholic parishes alone. So that number 415, that's all Christian churches in 2024. Another organization found 500 separate attacks on just Catholic parishes since May of 2020. Of course,
that's Josh Hawley, FBI Director Kash Patel, getting grilled right now by the Senate committee. And he's talking about religious persecution and the violence on religious people after the Charlie Kirk assassination. Let's drop in here real quick and listen to a little more.
Of course, we have the Covenant school shooting, the Annunciation school shooting in Minnesota, where 2 children were shot dead as they were praying in a pew. Here's my question. What is the FBI doing to take on this rising tide of violence that seems to be motivated by anti-religious hatred?
Specifically, sir, we have 60 anti-Catholic hate crime incidences reported to us that are being investigated. Publicly, I can tell you we have 5 hate crime investigations.
And he'll continue, and this will go on this morning and tomorrow with Kash Patel in D.C. The 22-year-old assassin Tyler Robinson, accused of murdering Charlie Kirk, will be in court later today. He's expected to be arraigned on state murder charges in Provo. He's formally charged with aggravated murder. We could see the death penalty. There are still a lot of unanswered questions regarding the assassination, and Candace Owens, who's one of Charlie Kirk's best friends, thinks there may be another person or persons involved.
Skylar there, that it actually shows him running across the rooftop. You guys may have seen it. The reason why that footage is problematic, as you start to see them ducking and then you see the shooter immediately start moving across the rooftop, is that their narrative is that he disassembled the gun and then started running. So that's a bit confusing to us of how he was able to do that so quickly. An unbelievable amount of hunters, guns, people that reached out to me and said, that just didn't happen.
So we'll learn more in the days to come, obviously, as everyone looks at this. Academy Award-winning director and actor Robert Redford has passed away at the age of 89.
I think it was a T.S. Eliot phrase that you're
There's
fond
only
of.
the trying, the rest is not our business.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite phrases because you can't guarantee where the trying is going to get you. So you can't guarantee the result. But the only thing that is in place is the trying. That's where the action is.
Robert Redford passes away at his home at the age of 89 in Utah. The FBI says they were alerted in July to a social media account tied to the 16-year-old who carried out last week's shooting at Evergreen High School. The teen died from a self-inflicted gunshot after injuring two students. He shared plans for a mass shooting and was radicalized by an extremist network. Law enforcement expert James Albee.
An assessment could come in several different avenues, whether it's through algorithms, keywords that are being used that's coming up. We've got task force that are out there that are scrolling these websites.
But he says, unfortunately, the FBI does have a high volume of these to investigate every day. DJT will be deploying the National Guard to Memphis. He said it'll be exactly like the recent operation in D.C., which has worked extremely well, adding the Guard will be joined by agents from the FBI and other federal officers. Oh, Tim Walz seeking re-election in Minnesota for a third term as governor. Monday Night Football last night, it was a doubleheader. Buccaneers beat the Texans 20-19, and
he keeps mentioning the future gold jacket. He talks about Mac almost with awe. Herbert launches downfield. It's Johnson in stride. Touchdown, Chargers.
And the Chargers beat the Raiders 20-9 in, once again, a doubleheader last night. The Broncos get ready to take on the Chargers this week on the road. Justin Herbert, a big night. 63 in Lone Tree, 61 in Lakewood, 64 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Unsettled weather today and Wednesday for Denver in the Front Range. An area of low pressure moving slowly through the north central Rockies will clip Colorado with some showers, some thunderstorms, and cooler temperatures today and tomorrow. Mid-70s today, only near 70 Wednesday, with scattered afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms today, tonight, and tomorrow. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, Bill, my perspective is that Donald Trump is providing this wonderful gift to the mayors of these major cities. We all know that crime's an issue. And Denver's facing a crime issue. People don't want to go downtown. It's not safe. And in a city that requires a 50% of its revenue come from sales tax, we got a big problem. Big problem if people don't go downtown. And to that point, the mayor of Denver is making big budget cuts to next year's budget. Some of the biggest budget cuts we've seen in decades. So we need people downtown. We, more importantly, need people to feel safe downtown. So flood the zone. I'm not asking for a permanent police state. I don't need checkpoints in between, Coors Field and the restaurant you want to go to. I'm not asking for that. But for a little bit of time, flood the zone with law enforcement, with National Guard, and make these communities safe, make people feel comfortable, and help these communities out. Get these businesses thriving again. That's the whole point of it. And when Trump was sending people, National Guard, to Washington, D.C. and L.A., and considering Chicago, well, progressives were losing their mind over this. What about the red states? What about the red states? Don't they have higher crimes? Well, yes, some of those cities do. Memphis is one of them. President Trump on Monday signed an order creating a federal task force and authorizing the use of the National Guard to crack down on crime in Memphis, over the concerns of local Democrat lawmakers who are wary of a surge of policing from Washington. By the way, that's coming from New York Times. Good chance Trump might own the New York Times here soon. $15 billion lawsuit. Anyways.
Yeah, like I said, the lawsuits worked out so well. That's worked out well, huh? Yeah.
Speaking from the Oval Office alongside Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee and the state's 2 Republican senators, Marsha Blackburn and Bill Haggerty, all Republicans, Mr. Trump said the task force would be a replica of the large show of police and military forces currently on display in Washington. Mr. Trump said he would also consider sending federal law enforcement officials into Chicago, St. Louis, and New Orleans. We're going to take care of all of them, step by step, just like we did in Washington, D.C., Mr. Trump said. Bill, do the Democrats just love criminals? Is that why they're fighting this? They love crime. They're happy to have crime-ridden cities suffering under the gun violence, knife violence, drug overdoses, and homelessness. They'd rather have that than Donald Trump help them out with the National Guard. Is that what's going on here?
Let me change the question for you. Is what's going on that conservatives have finally fallen in love with a police state? That what we need is a dominant president sending troops into cities because fill in the blank, whatever it may be, because this is an emergency for public safety, whatever they claim it to be. Remember, our previous president said, what was it that was one of the biggest threats to America? Oh, yeah, conservatives. Yeah. So is this it? That's what I'm curious about. Rather than the idea of you saying that Democrats in this crime-infested cities, etc., what I'm super curious about this and all the cheering is how conservatives have suddenly learned to love the police state. The idea of the president sending military troops into cities to fight crime, despite the fact they can't arrest a damn person. And not a lot of things. They provide support for the law enforcement efforts. They don't get to really do much, and they can only protect federal buildings. So the idea of them going in and that we now have increased this police force, that now they're going to tramp down on crime, and my guess would be that maybe we just need more police officers. That might help, but our president can't compel people to join the police force, but he can compel people in uniform to be his police force. That's what we have. So,
Bill,
congratulations.
once again, not you, but progressives afraid of ghosts out there while ignoring real, actual problems. Crime is a problem in these communities. It can be dealt with. Having a strong police force absolutely helps. Having military, National Guard around is going to be a deterrent. But to be concerned about some wide-ranging civil rights abuse that's going to take place hasn't proven out at all where Trump has done this. And so the progressives, the Democrats in these cities, afraid of ghosts. Oh, we might have big civil rights problems. We may be checked. Our papers are going to be checked at every corner when we go downtown. Not happening. Is not happening. Meanwhile, they're willing to turn away from very serious problems in these communities, like violence, like drug overdoses, like homelessness, like mental health problems. They have no solution. And what they're actually afraid of is Republicans making these major cities better. It's a political response. They'd much rather have power in a crummy city than work with Republicans to improve the city, because they might just have to admit that Republican ideas and Republican leadership work. I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to join us by giving us a call at 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or texting us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Bill, should Mike Johnston welcome the National Guard troops and partner with with Donald Trump to make the city of Denver safer?
Are Colorado Republicans embracing a police state? Is that what they think we need? We need U.S. troops on our streets. And you just a minute ago talked about the idea of people who disagree with this, afraid of ghosts. The ghosts of the tyranny of the government showing up with troops in the city streets to enforce laws. That sounds a whole heck of a lot like the ghost that we've been hearing about for years from conservatives about what the core reason is behind our Second Amendment rights. That's what I kept hearing. I kept hearing the Second Amendment was there for the tyranny of the government. Now we have the conservatives embracing what sure seems to look a lot like the tyranny of the government.
I'll grant that to you if you can please showcase civil rights abuses taking place with these National Guards troops.
Again, here's the idea.
Maybe there's some that are happening. I don't think they're wide-ranging, so what are we so afraid of?
I thought the idea was that the government would be deploying troops onto the streets. That's what we were supposed to, that the military was going to become our law enforcement. That was the entire idea, I thought, behind the Second Amendment, that the president wasn't the king and didn't have a private military at the beck and call to go around to certain areas and decide that they're going to enforce the law there. I thought that was the entire reason we were supposed to have the Second Amendment, so that the big government doesn't come in with their military and tell you what to do. Regardless if you agree or disagree that this is a good idea or a bad idea, that you're encouraged by the law enforcement aspects of it, I thought the entire premise was built on exactly this. That's what I had been sold for years, that this was the premise, that we would have a powerful president deciding where to send troops and enforce the military based on the interpretation of laws. Yet here we are, and it's being cheered by the same people that told me I had to be worried
Bill,
from
before you grab this phone call, no, he's always grabbing the phone calls. Okay. You're the mayor of Denver. The president of the United States is willing to offer National Guard troops to your community to provide a strong presence. Not necessarily kicking down doors. We're not pulling people out of cars and arresting them. Doing what they're doing now. Hanging around. Taking pictures with people visiting. Do you accept it or not?
Is what you're defining as a strong presence them just standing around taking pictures?
Yeah, sure.
What's the role? Then no, I reject that, because for me, that's a waste of money if I'm the mayor of Denver. If you want to help me enforce law, then what I want to do is, hang on, this is what I didn't get to the end of it. What I'm going to say is, how much money are you budgeting to spend on my city employing these National Guard troops and putting them up in food and everything else and the operational costs? What's that budgetary item? Because I would really appreciate it if, in fact, you just write me a check and I will go take all of that money and hire police officers and do training. That's where I, as the mayor of Denver, if I was, that's where I would put my focus, because I am convinced that the men and women in blue are going to do a heck of a lot more to solve our crime issues than anybody in a military uniform.
You think that the current DPD work in Denver just needs to be enhanced a little bit?
Not a little bit. I think they need more resources and more people. And if we had more police officers and more resources, yes, I am certain that the men and women in the Denver Police Department would have a better handle on crime and that it would go down lower than it is right now.
Offering that. Here's why I think there's a fundamental flaw here. Because who does the chief of police report to? He doesn't have to be elected. He reports to the mayor. There's an inherently political relationship between the chief of police and the mayor in these major communities. And so if the mayor, for instance, wants to maybe hide the crime statistics a little bit so he looks good for the next election, well, maybe we don't charge as many people. Maybe we just kind of look the other way at some stuff. And maybe crime looks like it's getting actually better in our community, and I could get reelected. Donald Trump is responding with leadership, with conviction. He's showing these Democrat-run cities that we can make improvements, and the real reason the Democrat mayors don't want it is because they look bad politically. Tell me where I'm wrong. Join the conversation.
The military can't accomplish anything that you talked about.
696-1971. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Speaking of Dan Caplis, Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law, a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. 303-770-5551 or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. We'll get to the phone lines. Rod, you're up next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. The headline coming from the New York Times: Trump signs off on sending the National Guard to Memphis. Should he send it to Denver as well? Text messages on both sides of this. Gabe texting in, do we want the left to control and place National Guards in cities they deem unsafe? I say no. This will come back and haunt the right. The left will regain power. And 2848 saying, I promise you Trump won't lose a single vote by sending the troops in, and will peel off more voters from the Democrats if he does this. Let's go to the phone lines. Rod in Littleton. Good morning, Rod. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning, gents. Here's the problem. The left has made it hard for cops to do their job. Cops are young people that were thinking about a career getting into law enforcement, don't want to because they know that if they arrest somebody, chances are they're going to get out and not be punished. Zero or no cash bail, just unbelievably light sentences. You've got people who are let go because they're deemed that they don't understand the crime that they committed. It's ridiculous. I think a show of force, just like and it's been proven in D.C., lowers crime. The liberals have not done anything. They take the money that they're given and they put it somewhere else. It's not going to where it needs to go. That's the problem. And they want to complain because they're not getting this help. But now they're offered help using the military as a show of force. That's all it is. It's there as a deterrent. It's just like putting an alarm system in a house. It's just like putting guard dogs in a junkyard. It's a deterrent.
But Rod, hang on a sec. Rod, though, some of the National Guard troops can't function as law enforcement. So are you putting... hang on a sec. Rod, what I'm saying is, are you putting out guard dogs or are you putting out pictures of guard dogs? Which one is it?
You're putting out a physical deterrent.
But if they're not... But Rod, hang on a sec. Rod, but if they can't function as guard dogs, are they a physical deterrent?
Criminals do not want to have people see them commit their crimes. They will go somewhere else. That's what they're doing. If you and the troops that have been deployed in L.A. specifically, why were they deployed? They weren't deployed to fight crime. They were deployed to protect federal law enforcement officers because the cities refused to do that job because of the leftist leaders in those cities. This all goes to the left. If they were to stand up and really want to fight crime, I am dumbfounded that our state continually votes for people who don't give a dang about the crime rate, the drug problems, because they're the ones that they're not doing anything to change the laws. They're not doing anything to stop it. I have no problem with armed troops walking down, in high crime areas, driving that crime out.
Yeah, now you talked about the good work and things, as far as L.A., yeah, they can only protect the feds, and that was, at least by the court so far, found to be an overreach. But inside of D.C., is it a problem that when we deployed the National Guard there, that the overwhelming majority of involvement of law enforcement were ICE arrests? Not arresting gang members, not narcotics arrests, not firearm arrests, not warrants, not violent crime. ICE arrests were the dominant reason people were arrested during that operation inside of D.C. Is that really then, can we come to the conclusion that we're really crushing crime and we're doing what you talked about as far as guard dogs?
Yes, you're going to take the crime that's in front of you, deal with it, and move on.
But hang on a sec though. But it's a majority of ICE arrests, and we don't. I mean,
but that doesn't mean that other crime didn't go down.
No, but I'm talking it. I know, but I'm showing in general. What I'm saying is the vast majority of what they were involved in were ICE arrests, not in narcotics arrests, not in gang arrests, not in violent crime arrests, not in firearm arrests, not in warrant arrests. None of those that we normally and here wait, this is the reason, Rod, is normally that's what we would define as the crime we are worried about. Not
Bill,
you're right.
I mean, Bill,
okay, that's
the
it.
crime
That's my
went
point.
down, though. Okay, go ahead, Rod.
Tell me how much is crime reduced since they've been in Washington, D.C.?
Oh, it's
How
gone
many
down.
murders have there been?
Hang on,
Yeah.
Rod. Yeah, it's gone
You
down,
guys
but hang
don't
on.
know.
But understand, some of what they've been doing has been picking up garbage, and so and it's
Okay,
costing
so
and
what?
it's costing us $1 million a day of taxpayer money in D.C. I submit to you, if we want to spend $1 million a day on law enforcement in D.C., it's better spent on people wearing a blue uniform and a badge, not people that are wearing a brown uniform and an American flag. The service member. That's the issue, man.
When I was in the Army, one of the things that we did dang near every day was pick up trash. So we're out there. You've got these military guys out there cleaning up that city. That's a good use of that money.
Really, Rod? We can't train somebody else to go around and pick up trash for more than we spent on
it's more than just pick up trash. It's a deterrent.
Tell me why we don't have them doing it already. Have you been downtown? Have you seen that? I worked down there for years. It's disgusting because they can't get anybody to do that job.
That's a good point.
So we got eyes on everybody with the eyes on these military people out there showing a presence, helping keep the community clean, which is something we all should do.
Rod Littleton.
Sorry, gentlemen. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks,
the
Rod.
call. Thanks so much. That was a lot of fun.
Another
and
vote
Bill,
for police state.
Well, I think you might use the money to improve the police. I think what we've seen with Mike Johnston and Jared Polis is that if you give them money, they go, a bridge? Huh? A bridge? I might have a bridge. Or how about ATM cards for illegal immigrants? So let's go to Bob in Morrison. Good morning, Bob. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hello. I find it incredible and almost ridiculous to suggest that we should send federal monies to a dysfunctional system like exemplified in Denver, where the money will be used just as was just a moment ago said. It's just not gonna work, and I say as long as the denizens of Denver are going to elect this kind of administration, which is not untypical for large cities, then let the people who vote that way suffer. I don't have to go to Denver, and I can stay away, and I do largely. So I think a lot of people feel that way. I'd be interested to hear what others think.
Yeah, Bob, I appreciate that, but what do you think about the military? Are you in favor of Trump calling out the military, at least facilitating National Guard troops in cities around America? Is that the role of law enforcement, or is that a police state? What's your interpretation?
I'm not particularly in favor of that. I'm a retired colonel from the Air Force, so I know what the military's role is, and I think it's an overreach to extend them that way. It's not a long-term solution. As soon as the military is removed from a system that is not going to and not interested in enforcing the law, what do you have? You have back to the same dysfunctional state. And
now, Bob, I got a question for you about that.
People vote, and what would Obama say? That there are consequences to elections.
Yeah. Now there are. Now, Bob, I got a question for you. In your time in the military, how much time of that training was about killing people, breaking stuff, going to war, and how much of that training was on police, stopping people for speeding, making sure they're not stealing something, making sure they're not doing drugs downtown? On par, where did you spend the majority of your training?
In the order that you presented it, 100% and 0% of training.
And I appreciate that, Bob. And that's my problem here, is that we're sitting here saying, ooh, look, we now have military members that are coming into our cities and gonna do law enforcement stuff, despite the fact that's not what they were trained for. They're super expensive.
I don't think
and
that's
they're being
the problem.
cheered, and they're being cheered by the people that warned me about military on the streets being a police state for years, and now they cheer it and welcome it with smiling faces.
That Donald Trump is proving Democrats can't lead, and it's really a political issue. All right, let's get to Deborah in Lakewood. Good morning, Deborah. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Hey, I am for the military coming in because when I was in my early 20s, late teens, Hurricane Frederick hit Mobile directly. and the governor and the mayor at the time, or town council, whatever it was, had lined up the National Guard to patrol the streets the second the hurricane cleared out. And we didn't have a whole bunch of looting of buildings because they were there. And we had a curfew as soon as it got dark. And there was a curfew anyway on the kids.
Deborah, I got a question for you. If that worked so well in your experience there, should we then make it national? Should we nationalize and this is what I'm asking, should we nationalize the police force instead of having these local police forces? Instead, because what you had as the example worked so well, make them all military members. Make this a national military police force, and just like you outlined, in order to stop crime, have a national curfew and enforce it. Is that what you're saying? Because that's what worked so well with your experience. Is that what you're saying we should be doing now? I'm curious.
In the cities where they need it, yes. It was temporary, and the police. Then they had the police, but during a hurricane, they have a whole bunch of other stuff they have to do too. So, but where there's people being killed left and right every day, like in Washington D.C., every day 20 people were killed. They're not being killed now.
Yeah.
Same thing here. They're being killed. They're being raped. They're being this and that. They're not now over there, but they are here in other states, in Chicago, and other places.
Also in places like places like Jacksonville, Mississippi, and many rural communities have a higher murder rate per capita than larger cities as far as population.
Send in the troops.
All ran by Democrats.
No,
all ran
it's not
by
true.
Democrats.
No,
yes,
no.
send them there too.
Deborah, that's not true.
I love
Deborah, that's
Deborah.
not true.
Woo-hoo!
Deborah,
that's fun.
Oh, it's fine. She's fun, but it's
job,
not true.
Deborah.
It's not accurate as far as where the highest murder rates are per capita. She can believe that, and that's fine. Doesn't change
Bill, was she
facts.
wrong in saying, though, that when Trump did this in Washington, D.C., and particularly, I guess, Washington, D.C., because it hasn't really been implemented in L.A., but Washington, D.C., that crime went down?
Yes, but here's the thing. Rather than sitting here and saying it's because of this great, wonderful thing that Trump has done, the issue is it's manpower. And we've talked about manpower being an issue for years. And we've heard that from so many conservative Republican sheriffs and other people that have said, we don't have the manpower to do X. We need more people. That's been the complaint inside of Colorado by a large number of law enforcement officials, that we don't have the manpower to accomplish what we need to. And so, yes, Trump contributed the manpower. Great. But as we looked at, and that was a wonderful result, I will give him credit for that. However, the idea that it was accomplished because we put military there, I disagree with it. And the big question that I have is all of y'all that were telling me for years we had to embrace the Second Amendment because we were worried about the tyranny of the government sending military into our cities to enforce the law, you're now cheering for this.
Because there's no tyranny happening. There's no widespread civil rights violations taking place. And these Democrat mayors are the same ones that go out there and demean the police, defund them, get rid of qualified immunity so they can get sued into the ground if they make a mistake. They're openly hostile to the police, so just handing them more money or expecting them to build a police force that can address these crime issues, it's never going to happen. All right, join the conversation, 303-696-1971. Text us at 720-819-5115 to give you a sense of what our text messages are like and why this show is completely unique. Everything from Bill, why can't you see the bright side? Anything Trump does to 9588 texting in, well, welcome to North Korea, everybody. That is the debate happening. You're welcome to be a part of it. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
progressives were going, oh, Trump's just sending National Guard troops to Democrat states. Well, he signed off on sending National Guard to Memphis and did so along with the Republican governor and Republican senators, all in support. But, of course, the Democrat mayor of the city of Memphis going, I don't like it. Do you think they should be coming to Denver? I think if Mike Johnston had a brain in his body, he would take advantage of this. It's the biggest problem he has is a actual budget issue related to the fact that nobody wants to go to the city of Denver because of crime. Okay, so he's making major budget cuts because half his revenue comes from sales tax, which you only get if people come to Denver. So he needs the ladies from Cherry Hills to come down and enjoy a night at dinner and out at the play. You got to have it, or you're not going to have a city anymore. And in order to do that, you got to make the communities look safe. And Donald Trump's offering free National Guard troops.
Free?
Right there to you.
Free? I thought we were paying for it.
Denver doesn't have to pay for it.
Aren't we as taxpayers?
But I'm talking about Mike Johnston. Mike Johnston.
But
can
Denver,
get this,
but Denver
can
taxpayers
get this.
pay federal taxes.
Sure.
Okay, so they're not free.
But
okay.
From Mike Johnston's perspective, they are. It's not coming out of his budget.
Just checking.
It's not coming out of his budget. So, should he take advantage of it? Mark, Westminster. Good morning, Mark. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Morning. Yeah, you can have more police than people. And if you have a Democratic mayor and governor that tell the police not to arrest them when there's crimes been going on, then it's still going to be in sanctuary city, and you're still going to have problems. You get rid of the Democrat mayors and governors, and then you'll have safe cities and safe states.
And I think that's why they're primarily concerned about this. I don't think that the Democrat mayors are all that concerned about limited government and, not being a police state. They're willing to control every other aspect of your life. But what's going to happen here is Donald Trump's going to prove that Republicans can lead in reducing crime, and that's what they're ultimately scared about.
And unfortunately, Mark, the issues of murder and per capita don't back up what you're saying about the crime-ridden Democrat cities, etc.
That's because they cook the books on the crime. Do you remember?
That's easy, Mark, isn't it? That's super easy to just say, I ignore. That's super easy to go, la, I'm not listening, I'm not listening. Nice job there, Mark.
Was there by the Capitol, and they had a group of people that went to Civic Center, and Hancock told them that wouldn't give them any permits, and then the police were there guarding everybody, and then Antifa came, and the police did nothing, and all those people got beat up.
Yeah, Mark, I have serious concerns about how the whole system's set up, where the police chief reports to the mayor. The mayor has a vested interest in making the statistics look fine, and I think there's some evidence to that. Mark, Westminster,
everybody
thank you
now
so
is like, oh, the statistics disagree with what my worldview is. They must be wrong. It's great rationalization. That's fantastic.
Just wondering.
It's wonderful rationalization. But continue.
If it happens.
Let's talk to.
You don't think it
Sure.
happens?
Sure. It's again not a discussion for right now because all it is it's a way and a means. No, it's a way because I brought it up because Mark said when I brought up statistics that disagreed with what his premise was, he said I don't trust those and I don't believe them, and then moved on. Fine, okay, whatever.
And he has the right to do that.
Yes, he has the right to
And
ignore reality. Go right ahead.
Bill, it's
Go
not
right ahead.
ignoring reality.
No, yes, it is. I'm right about this. That's okay.
Oh, I don't know. I think they've changed it. All right, let's go to Lewis and Aurora. Good morning, Lewis. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Good morning, brothers. Listen, I went to Israel in '86. Guess who I saw walking the streets with weapons? The military. Why? Because they were protecting people from terrorists. Now, these people committing crimes, I consider to be terrorists because just as you said, Jeff, people don't want to come into Denver. Why? Because they're terrorized, because they don't want to deal with the crime there. So, yeah. Bring on the military.
So, Lewis, I got a question for you. Are you a fan of a police state? Should we just declare martial law and have Donald Trump take over the military and the police forces across the country?
It's not going to be.
Wait,
man,
Lewis, I'm not asking.
Sick,
Lewis, I'm not asking you if. I'm asking if you're in favor of it. I'm asking you. You said this is a great idea. Welcome the military. I want to know where your line is. Is it okay just in Denver, or is it also okay in Colorado Springs? Is it also okay in L.A.? Is it okay in Jacksonville, Mississippi? Is it okay in Dallas?
You, Bill,
Where's your line, Lewis?
Bill, let me ask you, are you in favor of people being terrorized?
Lewis, where's your line? Answer my question first. No, answer my question first.
Answer my question.
No, you're gone. Sorry, you don't want to answer my question? You're gone, Lewis. I don't care. I mean, we will give and take, Lewis. I'm more than happy to give and take with you, and I'm more than happy to answer your question, but you refuse to answer mine. I'm not playing this. I'm not playing this type of a game. You want to have an honest discussion? I'll have it with you.
Bill,
but if we're just going to ignore the questions,
for the
fine,
line
I don't
for
care.
me, the line for me though is if I start to see widespread civil rights abuses taking place, then I'm going to have problems with it. That's where I think you get into a police state. Having a strong show of force to address cities that are facing serious crime problems and as a result, serious budget problems, in my mind, is a smart strategy to make cities more peaceful. But once you start getting into widespread civil rights violations, which we haven't seen yet, then I think you can make the claim it's a police state.
Well, the issue is if he declares martial law and sends in the troops, it doesn't matter, does it? Because then you don't necessarily have your civil rights. So that doesn't matter. And the idea being that when they send in the military and you have the military policing, what civil rights do you have? I thought that was the entire premise of the idea of the Second Amendment.
You just made the argument we'll lose civil rights when we lose civil rights.
No,
I'm asking you, where are the civil rights being lost? They haven't been showed yet. So you can't make the argument, well, when he declares martial law, we're not going to have civil rights. Well, that's the end of the show.
No, that's not. I didn't say when he declares. I'm saying that it doesn't matter at that point. And so if the idea is that we are safer because we have the military on our streets, go for it. Then just say you're in favor of a police state. And let's forget the Second Amendment of the Constitution.
Thank you to everybody that engaged in the debate today. We will be back
thanks a lot.
tomorrow with more debate. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Deep breaths, deep breaths. This has been fun today. Appreciate all you playing along. This is 710 KNUS.